Tonight, we begin with a story that could reshape the future of Asia, a story that's already sending tremors through the corridors of power across the continent. A single map, released by the Philippines on July 22, 2025, has sent shockwaves from Manila to Beijing and Washington, D.C. In a matter of hours, it became the focal point of heated debates, emergency meetings, and urgent diplomatic cables. This new national map directly challenges China's sweeping claims over the South China Sea, redrawing boundaries that have been fiercely contested for decades. It's more than a cartographic update. It's a bold political statement, a line drawn in the sand of international diplomacy. The unveiling was broadcast live, watched by millions, and instantly became a symbol of defiance. The stakes are enormous: trillions in trade, vital resources, and the balance of power in the Indo-Pacific. Every day, hundreds of ships navigate these waters, carrying goods that fuel the world's economies. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. declared the map a defense of national sovereignty, aiming to protect Filipino fishermen and secure the nation's future. He called on the nation to stand united, emphasizing that this was about dignity as much as territory. For years, Chinese vessels have harassed Philippine ships in waters Manila claims as its own. These confrontations have left fishermen anxious, livelihoods threatened, and tensions simmering just below the surface. The world is watching. This move could either ease tensions or push the conflict to a dangerous new flashpoint. Diplomats are scrambling, and analysts warn that the next steps could define the region's stability for years to come. The South China Sea is a global artery. Over a third of world shipping passes through, and beneath lie vast oil and gas reserves. Control here means economic leverage and strategic dominance. For the Philippines, it's about livelihood, survival, and national pride. For China, it's about power projection and maintaining its influence in the region. The timing is critical, just ahead of a major ASEAN summit, forcing nations to take a stand. Regional leaders are now under pressure to clarify their positions and respond to the growing crisis. Will the world support the Philippines' rights under international law or bow to Beijing's pressure? The coming days will test alliances and the resolve of the international community. The ripples from this cartographic bombshell are spreading fast, igniting debates in parliaments, on social media, and in the streets of cities across Asia. The answer will shape the future of the region and beyond. What happens next could redefine borders, alliances, and the very meaning of sovereignty in the 21st century. To grasp today's news, we must look back. The South China Sea dispute stretched back centuries, but intensified after World War II as colonial powers withdrew. The Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Brunei all staked claims to islands like the Spratlys and Paracels, often overlapping. The discovery of oil and gas in the 1970s turned these disputes into high-stakes confrontations. China seized the Paracels from Vietnam in 1974 and clashed with Vietnam again in 1988, setting a tense precedent. The 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, defined maritime rights, granting nations like the Philippines vast exclusive economic zones. Yet, despite UNCLOS, the 1990s and 2000s saw China's incremental salami slicing, occupying features like Mischief Reef within the Philippine EEZ. Each incident raised tensions, turning the South China Sea into a region of mistrust and constant confrontation. This history set the stage for the Philippines' dramatic new map. At the heart of the ongoing conflict in the South China Sea lies China's infamous 9-dash line, a boundary that has sparked intense debate and international concern for decades. First drawn in 1947, this sweeping U-shaped line claims nearly 90% of the South China Sea, cutting across the exclusive economic zones, known as EEZs, of Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, and Brunei, and putting China at odds with its neighbors. China asserts so-called historic rights over these vast waters, but the claim is vague, lacking clear coordinates and a solid legal foundation under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. This ambiguity allows China to act with flexibility and unpredictability, creating anxiety and uncertainty for its neighbors. Fishing boats are seized, energy projects are halted, and livelihoods are threatened, all on the basis of a line that remains undefined. According to UNCLOS, which China ratified in 1996, maritime claims must be based on actual land features such as islands or rocks, not on vague historical assertions or ambiguous maps. By clinging to the 9-line, China openly rejects the established international legal framework, fueling protests and legal challenges from other countries. In recent years, China has rapidly constructed artificial islands, complete with military bases and airstrips, transforming once remote reefs into unsinkable outposts that extend its reach. These aggressive moves project Chinese power far beyond its shores and directly challenge the sovereignty and security of neighboring Southeast Asian nations. The 9-line is no longer just a claim on paper, it's now a physical presence, with fortified islands and military infrastructure dominating the region's strategic waterways. As tensions escalate, the world is now forced to respond, with global leaders and international organizations seeking ways to address this growing flashpoint. In 2013, the Philippines took China to court under UNCLOS, seeking to invalidate the 9-line. China refused to participate, dismissing the tribunal's authority. In 2016, the Hague Tribunal ruled decisively for the Philippines. China's historic claims had no legal basis, and its artificial islands violated international law. The ruling was hailed globally as a victory for the rules-based order, but China ignored the verdict, calling it waste paper. The Philippine government at the time, under President Duterte, chose not to press the issue, hoping for better ties with Beijing. This allowed China to continue its activities unchecked. The 2016 ruling became a symbol of the gap between international law and geopolitical reality. The question remained, would the law ever be enforced? Fast forward to July 2025. Manila's stance has changed. The city buzzes with anticipation as the government prepares to make a historic announcement that will reverberate across the region. President Marcos Jr.'s administration has released a new set of official maps, a move that embeds the landmark 2016 Hague ruling directly into the nation's cartography for the first time. This act is more than symbolic, it's a declaration of intent and sovereignty. The updated maps now rename the waters within the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone as the West Philippine Sea. The EEZ boundary is drawn with unmistakable clarity, and for the first time, China's controversial 9-line is omitted entirely, signaling a firm rejection of Beijing's claims. Key features including Scarborough Shoal and significant parts of the Spratly Islands are now boldly labeled as Philippine territory, fully aligning with the arbitral award and reinforcing the country's maritime entitlements. These new maps are set for widespread distribution, reaching every government agency, school and Philippine embassy worldwide. The goal? To educate, inform and unify Filipinos at home and abroad. Foreign Secretary Manalo declared, "This is not aggression, but an affirmation of our rights under international law." His words echo the government's commitment to peaceful assertion. The timing of this release, just days before a major regional summit, is no coincidence. It's a calculated move designed to rally international support, draw global attention, and increase diplomatic pressure on Beijing. By making the Hague ruling a visible part of its official map, the Philippines not only strengthens its legal and diplomatic position, but also sends a clear message to the world about its resolve. The battlefield has shifted from the high seas to the high ground of law, diplomacy, and public opinion. The struggle now plays out in courtrooms, newsrooms, and international forums. It's a bold gambit in a long and complex struggle, one that will shape the future of the region for years to come. Beijing's response was swift and fierce. China's foreign ministry condemned the new map as a serious provocation and a violation of its sovereignty. State media accused Manila of being a US pawn, stirring up trouble to serve Washington's interests. On the water, China increased its coast guard and militia presence near disputed areas. A formal protest was lodged with warnings of economic consequences for the Philippines. For China, the South China Sea is a core national interest. Backing down is not an option. The fury is real and tensions are rising. The world braces for what comes next. The world took notice. The US quickly reaffirmed support for the 2016 ruling and the US-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty. Japan, Australia and the UK echoed calls for peaceful resolution and respect for UNCLOS. ASEAN's response was divided. Vietnam and Malaysia quietly welcomed the move, while others stayed silent, wary of angering Beijing. The European Union backed the rules-based order, urging peaceful settlement and upholding the arbitration ruling. These statements add diplomatic weight, but unity remains elusive. The Philippines has international backing, but the region's divisions persist. The pressure on China is mounting, but so is the risk of escalation. The world is watching closely. What happens now? Experts say the Philippines' move is overdue, a clear line drawn after years of failed accommodation. By embedding the 2016 ruling into its national identity, Manila signals it won't back down. Domestically, it builds consensus and educates Filipinos that the West Philippine Sea is theirs by law. But China is likely to respond with more gray zone tactics, maritime swarming, economic pressure, and aggressive maneuvers. The Philippines must brace for possible economic retaliation, from reduced tourism to delayed investments. Support from allies like the US and Japan will be crucial to withstand the pressure. Most analysts agree. This raises the stakes, but doesn't make war inevitable. The dispute enters a new phase of strategic competition. China will test Philippine resolve. The world's response will be decisive. If global support is strong, Beijing may rethink its approach. If not, the Philippines could be left exposed. The next moves are critical. We end where we began, with a map that's changed the conversation. The Philippines has traded quiet diplomacy for a clear legal stance, making the 2016 Hague ruling a living part of its identity. The West Philippine Sea is now the stage for a renewed struggle between law and force. The future of the region and global order hangs in the balance. China's reaction was expected, but the real test is just beginning. Will allies' support deter escalation, or will Beijing double down? The outcome will show if international law can stand up to superpower ambition. The livelihoods of millions and the security of global trade are at stake. The world must remain vigilant, supporting the rules-based order. The lines are drawn. Now the world watches to see what happens next.